Hey, Gangarone here. Welcome on back to the Cade and another episode of WTF Wednesday, where we do a bit of a dive into a game that on paper seemed like a good idea, but in reality turned out to be anything but. And for this week, we're going to go back to 1987, the fall of 1987 to be exact, and we're going to play a game that is the official sequel to one of the great video games of the early 1980s. But it showed that the difference between what came before on the old Atari 2600 and then what was issued on the Nintendo Entertainment System, the technological advance didn't necessarily guarantee you were going to get a better game. So we're going to play Super Pitfall. Now, if you're not familiar with Pitfall, you have to go back to, like I said, 1982. And a game that was one of the most popular on both the Atari 2600, the Intellivision, the ColecoVision, the Commodore 64. It was a fairly well-known and highly decorated action exploration adventure game. So Activision, when the NES became a reality in 1985-86, decided they were going to try and update it for the new console, and this is what we got. Now, I will tell you right now, I've never played this game. I've played the original Pitfall, but I never played Super Pitfall. So what we're going to do over the course of the next half an hour or so, or however long I can stay in this game, is we're going to see how far we can get. Now, this is a non-linear exploration game, which for 1986, 87, was almost unheard of. The idea that you could have a game where you could just completely be left to your own devices and see what you can find. That wasn't what most video games are designed for. So your basic controls are your A button is jump, and the more you hold it down, the higher you can jump to a point, and then your B button is the pistol that you carry. Now, you play a character named Pitfall Harry, who is the same lead character that was in the original game, and you are just a average treasure hunter. Whoop. We got a piranha to deal with here, so I gotta get around here. Oh! And I fell on the tarantula and I died, which, given my not great affinity for all things arachnid, that does not surprise me at all. Now, like I said, this game is considered on most critics' list on the short list of the worst Nintendo Entertainment System games of all time. So we just picked up a whole heap and heck of a lot of gold. And a lot of it comes down to, from what I read, the controls being fairly clunky, the hitboxes to hit particular enemies not being that high. Oh, we have a danger noodle. Okay, got away from that one. And because there is no real map system to this game, not having a real idea of where to go, as the ceiling's starting to fall in on me. You are pretty much left to your own devices. Now, this isn't the first game that offered this sort of thing to it. The original Metroid had a similar system to this, and Metroid is considered one of the truly unimpeachable NES games, as well as video games, bar none. Really? I came all this way and there's a dead end, and I got a scorpion here. Alright, so I had enough for an extra guy, clearly. As long as I can get past this scorpion. Oh, I'm out of bullets. That's not good. Now, along the way, you can get to different points where you can get more bullets for your gun if you can find them in the right spot. Alright, get away from that bat. Get away from this frog. Ah! He got me. But you only get 3 lives and that's it. So, I mean, the expectation that you can get all the way through this game and find everything isn't great. But the whole point of the game is that you're trying to go through this cavern in the Andes Mountains in South America to find the Raj Diamond. And along the way, you have to rescue your niece, Rhonda, and your cat friend, Quick Claw the Lion, who are somewhere in the catacombs. And because you have to go through this maze, and in a non-linear fashion, you've just got to hope that you can come across the right stuff. And then once you find Rhonda has turned into stone, and Quick Claw is trapped. They both need items to get freed. And then to return home, Harry has to get a photograph of the Underground Kingdom for a clue on how to get back out. You do get lives for every 50,000 points that you earn, or at least for the first 50 grand, and then it's 80 grand for the next one. So let's see what we can do second time trying. We're already 6 minutes in. Now, apparently, this is a game you can beat in as little as, 5 minutes? I've seen some speedruns on YouTube where you can beat it that quickly. Alright, we got more piranhas down here. I don't think I can get back over. Ah, he got me. Now, by comparison to modern games, I mean, Uncharted, this most definitely isn't. Tomb Raider, this most definitely isn't. But you have to bear in mind that 40 years ago, this was pretty much the best and only thing we had on offer for this sort of game. And I already got taken out. Now, the reviews of this game, like I said, are pretty mixed. Computer Gaming World, they found that the Pitfall Harry's movements were slow and floaty. The gameplay and visuals were too similar to that of Super Mario Brothers, which again came out 2 years earlier in 1985. The reviewer said at the time, quote, "There's nothing in the game itself to keep NES gamers awake." Computer Entertainment found the game gave players plenty to explore and recommended it to fans of the previous 2 Pitfall games on the 2600, while Video Games and Computer Entertainment gave the game a high grade out of 4 for its action, but low points for music and sound, declaring the game to be a higher quality form from its previous entries. So, when you look up Super Pitfall online, though, it is not uncommon to see it be very, very maligned. And in some ways, I can already see why. When Retro Gamer did their review, they said that this game was derided most by fans of the Pitfall series. They specifically noted the poor collision mechanics, flickering sprites, and stiff animation, and that a lot of the gameplay involved a whole lot of frustrating trial and error. And I can already see that. Like, I just tried to shoot that frog. He jumped over both bullets. And to that point, the reviewer and Retro Gamer, Stuart Hunt, said part of the frustration is that having a gun is pretty much useless. Because it will go right over most enemies, or they'll jump over it. And you can't hit them anyway. And then low enemies like the spider, there's nothing you can do to hit him anyway. So we've already died twice and had 2 game overs. And then when Brett Weiss did his book, Classic Home Video Games 1985 to 1988, the book came out in 2009. He found Super Pitfall to have awful music and graphics and generic level design, finding it far inferior to the previous Atari 2600 games. Now, graphically, compared to the 2600, it is considerably different. But part of the appeal of the 2600 game was the simplicity of it. In terms of the graphics, you were able to do things like swing over crocodiles and, avoid other dangerous animals like I just failed to do on 2 separate occasions. So the thing I can only ascertain is that I have to go further down. Whoop! Except I fell right into the lava pit. This also seems like a game that you would have to have some idea of being able to map everything out on your own. And way back in the day, in the 80s, if you needed to do stuff like this, your options, and I'm not kidding, were to basically get a big old roll of graph paper, lined graph paper, and draw your own map. And people can sit there and listen to me say that and think you're out of your mind. Well, maybe I am, but such was life before the internet. Alright, get away from the buzzard here. That frog got me. Alright, get away from the buzzard. Ah! I was trying to get over so I could jump a little bit further, and I didn't mean to go that far. So I went right into the lava again. But this time, we're on this side. Avoid that tarantula. There's a balloon down here. Uh-oh. And I can't fire my gun while I'm in the water. Alright, come up here, come up the ladder. Can't go up that way. Now, in the original game, you only had 20 minutes to find the treasure and finish the game. Whoa, don't go near the piranha. Alright. We dodged that bullet. Aha! Now we have things we can swing to. See if I can take that spider out. Hey, I took it out. Now this is what Pitfall is known for, is being able to jump and grab onto ropes, but these ones keep disappearing on me. Alright, got that one. Avoid the danger noodle. There we Scorpion over here. We got a scorpion up there and multiple scorpions everywhere. That's not good. And because you can't get any other weapon, and if I crouch down, I can't shoot that way. So the bullet goes right over the top of the scorpion's tail and I can't hit it. Now, as soon as he turns around, he's going to come back my way. Oh no! And down I went. And that's game over. Well, I got a little bit further this time. Now, this game only came out on consoles on the NES. It was also released on the PC-88 series of computers, or the PC-8800 series, I should say, which was created by NEC and was released only in Japan in 1981. So basically, they were trying to port a game that was already 5 years old by the time the NES came out. So let's see if we can try this one more time. Alright, so we can come all the way around here. Get more bullets. Ah! Avoid the spider. I'm trying to go down the ladder. We got a bat flying around here. Alright, that does not look like that's going to be helpful. Take that one out. Ah! Try to get out of the way again. As soon as I hit the bottom after coming off the ladder, I immediately copped a squat, which is not what I wanted. There was a game that came out in the 90s for... as I fell into the lava. For the Mac. The old Macintosh computers. And it was actually done on a program at the time called HyperCard, which was a really primitive animation program that was way ahead of its time. And for being the late 80s, early 90s, you could do a whole lot with it. Include things like create a game. And it was called Scarab of Ra. And my sister and I used to play that in school on our lunch breaks. We would sneak into the computer lab and play it until our fingers fell off. And then I managed to swipe a copy off the my school's computer system, thanks to having a floppy disk. Back in the day when a 3.5-inch floppy disk was all you needed to be able to get pretty much anything. You have to bear in mind that back 30 years ago, my first Macintosh had its entire operating system and its hard drive was on, and I'm not kidding, one 3.5-inch floppy disk. Which meant if that disk got corrupted, you were hosed. You had a non-functioning computer. It's not like it is nowadays by any stretch where you have an installed OS that can stand up to just about anything. Well, that was a quick display of futility on my part. Alright, we're at 20 minutes. Let's try one more time. But it doesn't surprise me that I'm kind of stuck in the first part of the game. Because having a... so I jump... I play leapfrog with a frog and I die. I have to remember, this isn't Mario. If you jump on a beastie, you're dead. Alright, I'm gonna go this way. Take that one out. Take that one out. So even if you get hit by the waterfall, you immediately come off the log. And it's hard to time when that waterfall is coming down. Go away, spider. There wasn't two of you there. There was just one of you. That's one of the other problems with games like this. The old Nintendo games suffered this same problem. And games like Ninja Gaiden, which was considered one of the great games of all time, is notorious for that problem, where you think you've taken a beastie out, and you haven't. Or another one shows up to take its place. That was one of the most frustrating things about Ninja Gaiden, among many frustrating things about Ninja Gaiden. Okay, so, like I said, we're going to try one more time. That's as far as we got. So I think we can call it good there. But that, everybody, is Super Pitfall from 1987 for the NES. And it's created by Activision. Like I said, it was their first game that was created for the Nintendo Entertainment System. Obviously, they would go on to make a great many more games. Some of them good. A lot of them not so much. So, question one, is this a good game? No. I can totally see where the amount of frustration comes in, where the controls are clunky. The graphics aren't terrible. I get what the reviewers in the day were saying about how annoying the music is, and I have it turned pretty far down on my setup. Just so it's not blaring in my ears. But even then, after a while, it could get, because of how repetitive it is, it can get pretty annoying. The fact that you have a weapon, but you can basically only shoot frogs, bats, and birds with it. The insects, you can't do anything about. The graphics, while better than the 2600 version, obviously, has its flaws because having sprites blink out on you and then magically reappear, having things that you took out magically reappear when you jump, and not having a real idea of where or how to navigate through this series of caverns. Do you really want to take the time and effort to go exploring long enough to find everything you need to finish the game? I can't say you do. Is it something that they could have done a lot better? Sure. But you have to think back 35, 40 years ago and what did Activision have available at the time? It's similar to what a lot of gaming companies have when they're trying to create new content for new machines. And it's most prevalent if you think about late gen or previous gen titles on the PS4, PS5, Xbox, Xbox One, the Xbox Series S, when you were running into companies that were having a bear of a time trying to create multi-platform titles that would work on both consoles. I remember hearing that it was often that, depending on the company, that like trying to create stuff for the PlayStation architecture was infinitely harder than it was creating stuff for, say, the Xbox architecture. Sometimes it was the other way around. Well, if you're Activision with much, much more primitive resources back in the mid 80s, and you're trying to convert something from the stalwart Atari 2600 to an updated system with better processing power, better graphics, and better capabilities writ large, the degree of difficulty goes up. I'm not saying that that excuses Activision for making a terrible game. I'm just saying that it doesn't surprise me that this game turned out to not be as good as its predecessor. Now, they've gone on to make other versions of Pitfall. To my knowledge, the entire series has gone on to span multiple variations, and there have been quite a few different versions that have come out over the years. Like I said, Super Pitfall came out in 86, 87. They did Pitfall the Mayan Adventure for the Genesis and Super NES in 94. They did a 3D version, Pitfall 3D, for the PlayStation in 98. There was Pitfall the Lost Expedition in 2004 for the PS2, Xbox, and the GameCube. And then 2012 saw the release of Pitfall for iOS and Android. Again, most of them were done by Activision, but to various degrees of success or whatnot. So the series has remained intact throughout its now, 30 years, now 40-year run. There hasn't been a new version of it in over a decade. Will we see a new one? I don't know. With games like Tomb Raider and Uncharted and things of that nature, the interest in having a good old-fashioned, not modern day and not necessarily retro, but a classic Indiana Jones style explorer game, I think that interest is always there. And it was just games like Pitfall that really set the tone for that back in the early 80s. It proved the concept that you could do something like that, and if you put the right packaging on it and you gave it the right mechanics, you could make a hell of a game. Whether or not newer iterations could have that, I don't know. You certainly could do it. With modern architecture, I cannot see why you could not make a really cracking good Pitfall game. It's just a question of, does Activision have the capability to do that? And if not, who could come along and fill that void? You know, I've played Uncharted, and Uncharted had its quirks. So did Tomb Raider. The modern versions of Tomb Raider, I think, were better than the older versions of it. But they're not perfect games either. So if you've never tried Super Pitfall and you really want to see how far you can go in it, let me know. If you've ever played this game and you've ever beaten it, and if you have, I want to hear from you. Leave it down in the comments below. Let me know what your experience with it was, especially if you beat it. How long did it take you? How frustrating was it? And how many times did you have to start over and work your way back through it to get to the end of it? Because again, you only have 3 players. You get 3 cracks at it, and that's it. So you don't have a whole lot of options to be able, and you get no continues. This was in the era before save games and before continues, so makes it even more frustrating and makes the degree of difficulty even harder. But that is WTF Wednesday for this week. Thank you very much for tuning in. Hope you've been enjoying the content on the channel. If you do, you know how to show up by now. Thank you all for tuning in and watching the playthrough of Super Robot Wars Alpha Guide. And we finally put that beast to bed. Only took 51 episodes to do it, but I'm glad we got it in the can. Like I said, it was a game that I've been wanting to do for a long time. Not the average fare you see on most gaming channels, but I wanted to show that is like this game, strategy-based games were something that had their time, and Super Robot Wars is one of the most popular ones of the genre. Be sure to tune in for Sports Saturday and Sucker Punch Sunday coming up this weekend, where we will be finishing up, or we'll be starting the playoffs on Sega Sports NFL 2K2 for the Sega Dreamcast in Season 2 of our attempt to create the New England Patriots dynasty without Tom Brady. And now we have to do it without our best player on the team. He's out for the entire postseason with a torn hamstring. How we're going to manage to get through that, I genuinely don't know. And then Sucker Punch Sunday, we'll play a classic fighting or fighting platform-based game from the 3rd, 4th, 5th, and 6th generation. Be sure to follow us on social media through Instagram, Threads, and Blue Sky. Ronan's Retrocade helps spread the word about us as we continue to build this channel and make it bigger and better. My name is Ronan. It's been great to spend this time with you. Be safe, be well, happy gaming. And we'll talk to you this weekend for Sports Saturday. Bye.